A very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1 live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Bringing you the news, I'm Jad Abdin.
And I'm Mariam Garamizaya. We start off with a look at the stories making headlines tonight.
Heavy rain and strong winds expected today. 5 provinces affected. Public urged to remain vigilant. Over 29,000 without power island-wide. CEB says several hours needed to restore supply. Air Force rescue operation saves fishermen in Balapitia. Yoshita Rajapaksa, Daisy Forest money laundering case scheduled for the 11th of July. Thusita Haloluwa remanded over misuse of state property. Customs seizes 5.1 billion rupees worth cocaine at BIA. 31 million illegal cigarettes also destroyed. 8th session of the Sri Lanka-China Joint Committee for Economic and Trade Cooperation concludes in Colombo. Federal Appeals Court temporarily reinstates Trump tariffs.
And on to those stories in detail. In your top story this evening, the activation of the southwest monsoon has triggered widespread heavy rainfall across Sri Lanka, affecting 21 districts so far. Over 2,200 families in 219 divisional secretariats are reported to be impacted. For more on the current weather conditions and nationwide impact, here's Theruni Karunaratne from the Newsfirst Weather Centre.
Since last night, up to this very point of the day, Sri Lanka has been experiencing very heavy rainfall and strong winds across many parts of the island, and a large number of people have been affected by these adverse weather conditions. Well, we're ready to bring to you all the details on this, but before that, there is one question that we need to answer first. What exactly happened last night? What caused the sudden change in the weather? Why did the wind speeds drastically increase along with rainfall? We inquired from officials of the Met Department as to why Sri Lanka experienced winds as strong as 60 to 70 kilometers per hour. They have mainly attributed this change to the low pressure area positioned northeast to the Trincomalee district. This has resulted in strong winds blowing across the island in that direction. Officials predict that the direct impact of these strong winds will be felt by the coastal areas of Bangladesh over the next few days. Heavy rains and strong winds swept across 5 provinces since yesterday evening, causing widespread damage and disruption. The Disaster Management Centre said that the northwestern, northern, southern, western and Sabaragamu provinces were affected. Colombo and suburbs were hit hardest, with fallen trees blocking roads and causing severe traffic disruptions overnight. Newsfirst correspondents reported that power outages were reported across multiple areas.
What's causing the strong winds?
The main cause was a pressure drop in a low pressure zone that has developed offshore from Trincomalee in the northeast, moving inland. As the low atmosphere shifted, it triggered this kind of wind pattern. That's what led to the formation of the strong wind conditions. However, the system has now reached the coastal line of Bangladesh and is gradually weakening.
Trees were uprooted last night due to the wind and rain in Leslie Ronagalamavata in Boralla, Grand Pass, Bambalapitia, Dematoda, Maradana, Jabatta, Vallabatta and surrounding areas. They were cleared during the night by the Colombo Municipal Council Fire Brigade and the police. In Dematoda, 3 people were injured when a wall at a garment factory collapsed. Police said that they were admitted to the National Hospital. In Grand Pass, a fallen tree on Joseph Mawatha damaged 6 houses. On the Colombo-Kurunegala main road, a tree fell near the Ambagaha junction in Minuwangoda, disrupting vehicular movement. A tree had fallen on the Jar Alam Markavita road earlier this morning. In Nagasandhya Kalutara, a tree fell on a shop. On the Habaraduwa Dikkumbura road, a fallen tree disrupted vehicular movement this morning. In Hettipula Kurunegala, 15 houses were damaged due to strong winds this morning. A high-voltage electricity pole collapsed onto the Ginigathena Norton Bridge main road. Vehicular movement on the road was obstructed in several places due to fallen trees. In Uva Paranagama, many houses were damaged by this morning's strong winds. Newsfirst correspondents reported that in Valley Ulla Uduhabara, several homes were also damaged by the wind. 3 fishermen were rescued by the Air Force after their vessel encountered distress off the coast of Balapitia. Air Force spokesperson Group Captain Erandagiganage said the fishermen were rescued using a Bell 412 helicopter and were admitted to the Balapitia hospital.
The Ceylon Electricity Board said that over 29,000 electricity consumers across Sri Lanka are still without power. CEB spokesperson Dhammika Wimalaratna said that it will take several more hours to fully restore electricity supply. Strong winds have caused trees to fall onto power lines and several utility poles have also collapsed. He added that multiple teams have been deployed to carry out the restoration work. Information regarding power outages can be reported via the CEB Assist mobile application.
Landslide early warnings issued for several divisional secretariats in the Galle, Kalutara, Kandy and Kegalle districts remain in effect.
It is extremely important to be cautious about unstable trees. Awareness of landslide warning signs is crucial. If trees begin to tilt, if rocks begin to shift, or if water springs unexpectedly emerge from the ground, act with vigilance. Cracks appearing on walls are also serious warning signs and must be addressed immediately. Most importantly, remember to contact the emergency hotline 117 if any of these signs are observed.
What will the weather be like in the coming hours?
Intermittent showers and thunderstorms are expected to continue in several districts, including Western, Sabragamo, North, Western, Central, Galle and Matra. Occasional sunlight may appear between showers, but overall scattered rain is expected throughout the day. Heavy rainfall exceeding 100 millimeters is possible in certain locations within Sabragamo, Kandy, Nuwara, Galle and Matra districts.
Will strong winds continue?
There is an
increase in winds across the island. Winds are expected to intensify, particularly in the northwestern, north central and the western slopes of the central highlands, including Putlam and Hambantara districts. Winds will mainly blow from the southwest direction, with speeds possibly reaching 50 to 60 kilometers per hour in some instances. We continue to advise the fishing and maritime communities to avoid venturing into deep sea areas of the coastal stretch from Chilau to Trincomalee via Putlam due to rough sea conditions.
So a small reminder that we leave you with tonight is to ensure your safety in the face of these adverse weather conditions. Follow alerts as well as instructions issued by officials in charge, because your life is important to us as well as to the country.
Amid the ongoing heavy rainfall and prevailing weather conditions, a concerning rise in the spread of dengue and chikungunya has come to light, prompting health authorities to raise alerts. This was during the Colombo District Coordinating Committee meeting.
A total of 22,396 dengue cases have been reported across Sri Lanka since the 27th of May. Of these, approximately 45%, around 10,000 cases have been reported from the Western province. There has been an increase in reported cases during the first 5 months of this year compared to the same period last year. Since 2009, we are now seeing a resurgence of chikungunya cases. The majority of confirmed chikungunya cases have emerged from areas like Kolpeti, Suduvalla, which fall under the North and Central Colombo divisions. This is a serious situation. Preventing this crisis is the duty of state officials. If OICs, PHIs and other responsible officers fail to act together, the city will be overwhelmed by these diseases. If the people of the city fall ill, it reflects our failure. Let us take full responsibility for protecting our citizens.
Fourth Magistrate Nilapalli Lanka today ordered that Thusita Haloluwa, who served as the Executive Director of the National Lotteries Board, be remanded until the 2nd of June.
The case filed regarding Thusita Haloluwa's alleged misuse of a computer and mobile phone valued at over 470,000 rupees obtained from the National Lotteries Board during the period 2017 to 2019 while serving as Executive Director was taken up for hearing today. At the hearing, officers of the Colombo Fort Police informed the court that charges would be filed against the suspect under the Offences Against Public Property Act. They also submitted a request to revoke his bail and have him remanded. During the proceedings, the magistrate criticised the Fort Police for conducting a weak investigation into the incident. Accordingly, the magistrate ordered the Senior Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of the Western Province to conduct an expedited investigation into the matter and submit a report to the court. The case is scheduled to be called up again on the 2nd of June. The Colombo High Court scheduled the next hearing in the high-profile money laundering case against Yoshitha Rajapaksa, son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and his grandmother Daisy Forrest for the 11th July. The case against Yoshitha Rajapaksa, son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, and his grandmother Daisy Forrest, filed under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, alleges that the two unlawfully acquired assets and property valued at approximately 73 million rupees. High Court Judge Aditya Pattabandi issued the order after Senior State Counsel Udara Karunatilaka, appearing for the prosecution, submitted several documents relevant to the case. Representing the Defence President's Counsel, Sampath Mendis requested the court to direct the prosecution to provide a list of documents and witness statements necessary for a fair trial. He emphasized that access to this material is essential for the defense to adequately prepare. Judge Pattabandi instructed the prosecution to review the request and provide the relevant documents where possible. The court then fixed the 11th of July as the next date for proceedings. The Attorney General filed the case alleging that Yoshitha Rajapaksa and Daisy Forrest committed an offence under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act by acquiring assets through unlawful means.
The office of former State Minister Sivanesa Chandrakanthan alias Pillayan was searched by the police today.
The office of former State Minister Sivanesa Chandrakanthan alias Pillayan was searched by police today with support from the Special Task Force. Pillayan is currently in remand custody. He was arrested in connection with the ongoing investigation into the abduction and disappearance of former Eastern University Vice Chancellor Professor Sivasubramaniam Ravindranath. The permanent trial at bar of the Colombo High Court yesterday sentenced former Minister of Sports Mahinda Aluthgamage to 20 years of rigorous imprisonment and former Minister of Trade Nalin Fernando to 25 years of rigorous imprisonment. The verdict was delivered in relation to the Carom Board case filed by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption before the trial at bar of the Colombo High Court. Following the court's ruling yesterday, various opinions are being expressed on political platforms regarding the decision.
The following views were expressed at the media briefing convened by the Samagi Janabalawegaya today.
They are not ours. Don't get it twisted. Remember, it was us who filed the cases that sent Mahindananda behind bars, not them, not the JVP. It was us. Also remember, there was punishment for the Silreddy case. Even with 20 years of rigorous imprisonment, where are they now? They went by cab and still nothing has happened. We went by bicycle and that is what we are still seeing results of.
This is the response of the government to the opposition's accusations.
Generally, when we look back over a long period in our country, we haven't seen cabinet ministers or MPs, those high-level thieves, being punished and imprisoned through the law. Now that is happening, that means state institutions are functioning. It also means we have given them freedom to operate. We don't interfere, and those responsible officials now believe they can act without political threats or pressure. In the past, even the Attorney General's office has faced threats. The AG has been pressured. Officials in the Bribery Commission weren't allowed to work. The police weren't allowed to work properly either, due to political interference. So they couldn't act. But now officials in institutions combating theft, fraud and corruption have developed confidence. They believe they won't face any political intimidation. So what's happening now? Punishments are being handed down to thieves. Previously, the law was only applied to the small fry. Now it's being applied equally to the big fish. That's something we can clearly observe in this country. And there's another message in this. We are in power now. The message to everyone is this. State funds and assets, public money, should not be wasted, stolen or misused by anyone. That message is good for the entire country.
The Lawyers for Truth and Justice organization held a media briefing today and expressed their views on the matter.
By now, we know that no minister gives phone calls to judges. That is a fact. It goes to show that the rule of law and independence of the judiciary has been 100% assured. Now, we must tell everyone not to claim the credit of the court's verdict, saying that they filed the case and that legal action was initiated during their tenure. A considerable number of cases were withdrawn citing various reasons due to interventions of Mahinda Rajapaksa, Basil Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe. These were not problems with the court. Those were issues with entities that filed the cases. However, by now, the environment for such entities to act independently has been created. There was the possibility of refiling those cases if the issue was a technical one. However, that was not done for many cases. Cases were filed simply as stunts before the media. Thereafter, a situation was created so that those cases would not continue. Ranil Wickremesinghe used the action of filing cases to defeat people he wanted out of the scene. However, this government is making institutions independent. By now, the judiciary is also independent. What is important is that existing evidence is used to give the most suitable verdict within the legal framework. Therefore, if anyone thinks that undermining the people's mandate would help them succeed, they are very much mistaken.
A stock of cocaine valued at approximately 520 million rupees was seized early this morning by officers from the Police Narcotics Bureau and the customs officials stationed at the Bandaranaike International Airport in Katunayaka. This was during a raid carried out today.
The stock of cocaine that was seized at the Bandaranaike International Airport was brought into Sri Lanka by a 38-year-old Thai woman. She arrived in Sri Lanka today at 2 a.m. on board a Qatar Airways flight QR-662 from Doha, Qatar. The suspect had concealed 10.323 kilograms of the narcotic substance along with 500 narcotic pills inside 3 teddy bears.
A large stock of illegally imported foreign cigarettes was destroyed today by Sri Lanka Customs. The destruction took place at the Kerolapitiya waste disposal plant. The 31 million cigarettes were seized by Sri Lanka Customs at the BIA between January and March 2025 after attempts were made to bring them into the country without paying taxes. Customs officials said the government lost nearly 1.4 billion rupees in tax revenue due to these smuggling attempts.
These goods were brought in illegally without meeting required standards or proper approvals. Since we cannot certify their safety or quality, we cannot release them to the market. Destroying them is the most appropriate action. One person was injured in a police shooting during an attempted arrest in Bandaraya. Police said the suspect tried to attack officers with a sharp weapon. Now in response, police opened fire, claiming it was an act of self-defense. The injured suspect was taken to hospital for treatment.
News First with the people.
In more local news tonight, the 8th session of the Sri Lanka-China Joint Committee for Economic and Trade Cooperation concluded successfully in Colombo. During the session, a number of memoranda of understandings were signed.
The Minister of Trade, Commerce, Food Security and Cooperative Development said that the 8th session of the Sri Lanka-China Joint Committee for Economic and Trade Cooperation has opened the door to strengthening long-term economic relations between the two countries based on the outcomes of President Anurukumara Dissanayaka's recent visit to China. During the meeting, both parties engaged in constructive dialogue covering a wide array of trade and investment topics. Key discussion points included the strengthening of bilateral economic relations, the enhancement of Sri Lankan exports to China, particularly in high-potential sectors such as tea, gemstones, cinnamon, fruits and aquatic products, and the promotion of investment collaboration in areas like logistics, green development. Discussions also focused on strengthening air connectivity and tourism links, with Sri Lanka proposing the resumption and expansion of Sri Lankan Airlines operations to major Chinese cities and inviting Chinese carriers to consider operations to Mаттala Airport. The occasion marked a renewed commitment to strengthening the long-standing economic ties between Sri Lanka and China, building on the outcomes of the state visit of President Anurukumara Dissanayaka to China in January 2025. A number of memoranda of understanding was signed aiming at enhancing trade facilitation, industrial cooperation and institutional capacity building, further solidifying the economic partnership between the two friendly nations. China's Minister of Commerce Wang Wentao said that China stands ready to support Sri Lanka's development journey and called for the two countries to expand trade and economic cooperation to boost development. He was speaking at the China Trade and Investment Forum 2025 in Colombo.
China Trade and Investment Forum 2025 brought together over 115 senior representatives from 77 leading Chinese enterprises alongside key members of Sri Lanka's public and private sectors. The high-level event was co-hosted by the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, the Department of Commerce of Sri Lanka, the Sri Lanka-China Business Council of the Ceylon Chamber and the China Chamber of Commerce for import and export of machinery and electronic products.
It is my hope that our friends of the business community can make good use of this maturing platform, tap into cooperation potential, identify business opportunities, yield more cooperation outcomes and contribute to sustained and sound development of China-Sri Lanka economic and trade ties.
Following a period of macroeconomic stabilization and structural reforms, the government is taking all possible measures to ensure sustainable economic growth and development with industrial revival, export diversification, modern agriculture, expanded tourism, as well as digital and green transitions to build a resilient and inclusive economy. Guided by the government's national policy framework, we are committed to creating a conducive environment for ease of doing business with level playing fields rooted in transparency, predictability and sustainability. In 2024, Sri Lanka's total exports of goods to the world were valued at $12.02 billion United States dollars, while the total imports of goods were valued at 18.27 billion of United States dollars. The total foreign direct investments inflows amounted to 614 million USD, while tourist arrival reached over 2 million during the same year. These figures reflect Sri Lanka's growing integration with the global economy and its commitment to strengthening international economic collaborations and partnerships.
The Chinese delegation representing 4 major trade chambers, CCCME, China Chamber of Commerce of Imports and Exports of Foodstuff, Native Produce and Animal Byproducts, China Chamber of Commerce for Import and Export of Textiles and the China International Chamber of Commerce for the private sector expressed strong interest in forming partnership across a wide array of sectors. The forum also facilitated B2B meetings and discussions on investments in the automotive value chain, tea plantation and enterprise development, and partnerships in renewable energy, clean technology, engineering, construction and water treatment.
Japan signed the grant contracts for 2 demining projects under the scheme of grant assistance for grassroots human security projects in Colombo today.
The government of Japan has provided approximately $900,000 for these 2 projects with Mines Advisory Group and Halo to support humanitarian demining activities in the northern and eastern provinces of Sri Lanka.
Japan has extended over $47 million for demining projects in Sri Lanka since 2002 through our grant assistance for grassroots and human security. The global situation has become increasingly complex with rising humanitarian needs in many other parts of the world. However, today's ceremony is yet another proof of Japan's firm commitment to assisting demining activities in Sri Lanka. We are willing to continue working together with Sri Lankan and international partners who strive to achieve the goal of making this country free from mine impact by 2027 in accordance with the Ottawa Convention. We sincerely hope that our grant will be used effectively and efficiently to protect people from mine impact and to remove barriers for economic development in the conflict-affected region.
Japan has been a major donor in demining activities in Sri Lanka since 2002, and the total amount of assistance exceeds $47 million. It is expected that the 2 newly funded projects by MAG and Halo will together contribute to resettlement and improved livelihood for around 13,000 beneficiaries in the northern and eastern provinces. The US Embassy in Sri Lanka today launched the Mobile American Space Initiative at the University of Kelaniya. The Sarvodaya Fusion, with support from the US Embassy in Sri Lanka, launched ASBAUS, a Mobile American Space Initiative, in Colombo today.
ASBAUS reflects the US Embassy's deep and enduring commitment to youth empowerment, and it aligns with an important America 250 theme, bringing opportunity to you. So in that spirit, we are meeting Sri Lanka's bright and driven youth exactly where they are. The ASBAUS is more than just a bus, more than just a vehicle. It's a mobile engine of possibility. It brings American excellence and American values like innovation to life, offering practical tools for students to build skills and shape their own futures. By the end of 2026, our little ASBAUS will have been to every province in Sri Lanka, and our students can be change makers in your very own communities.
This initiative aims at expanding access to educational and cultural resources across the country.
Over the years, we've had many US citizens coming out to spend time at Kelaniya as Fulbright Fellows and specialists. And of course, as a university, we pride ourselves on our international connections and collaborative partnerships in both Eastern and Western countries.
Oh yeah, there we go. Right around a...
The program began its journey at the University of Kelaniya and will travel throughout Sri Lanka over the next 18 months. Designed to engage youth, the ASBAUS brings free American innovation, learning opportunities and outreach directly to communities.
A media briefing was held yesterday in Colombo regarding Oscar-nominated film director Deepa Mehta's return to Sri Lanka for a special cinematic collaboration. A media briefing welcoming internationally acclaimed filmmaker Deepa Mehta, titled A Cinematic Homecoming, Deepa Mehta Returns to Sri Lanka, Celebrating Film, Culture and Collaboration, was held yesterday in Colombo.
Sri Lanka is very particular as far as our experience has been concerned. We made 3 completely different kinds of films here. One was water, which was supposed to be set in by the banks of the Ganges in India, and then there was Salman Rushdie's Midnight's Children, and then finally there was Funny Boy, which was meant to be set here. Completely different, and all of them at some point or the other have won big awards, mostly for production design. So we have to say something about that. How is that possible, that something that's so diverse can be so particular and so right? And I think that's Sri Lanka's great gift and should be recognized as a great gift. We're very thrilled that the next film that we're going to shoot here is, that depends on what you guys do, okay, is a film called Sher. It's about Watson, of Holmes and Watson, and coming here and finding Sherlock Holmes's half-daughter, illegitimate daughter here, and how they solve cases. It's fun, it's really bright, and it's intelligent, and I'm really happy to tell you all that it's got one of my favorite actors attached to it, playing Watson, who's, I'm sure you know him. His name is Jeremy Irons, and he's so excited about coming here.
We've made 3 films here, but each of those films that we've done have had their own challenges. But one of the constants, always, and this is something which elevated not just the film, but the process of making the film, is the intense dedication that the cast and crew have here and the talent that exists here.
We want to be an advocate, a pillar of strength for the film industry. That's where we see ourselves in the future. A hub which truly believes in people like you.
We are so happy to see you here, and we are giving our fullest support to make it happen.
We are in an era of transformative storytelling. So when it comes to tourism, storytelling is very impactful, convincing travelers day by day. When it comes to this film tourism industry, a bit of numbers, we are talking about an industry almost today's value of about $100 billion US. So in terms of creating revenue and then inspiring travelers to travel to destinations, it's a huge thing for us.
A Q&A session also took place.
I don't know if it's too early to ask you all this, but since you all have worked in Sri Lanka before and you're quite familiar with a lot of places in the country, have you all already guessed, okay, these are the kind of places we might use for your next film?
We're going to sit down with them and see photographs of potential. They've read the script, of course, and so they know it intimately, of potential places that we can look at and maybe even just go there if there's something that strikes one. And one of them is your tea estates in Norelia. So that's a big part of the films.
The event brought together key figures from the worlds of cinema, hospitality and government to celebrate the island's growing presence in global filmmaking and cultural tourism.
On to news overseas, US President Donald Trump's tariff plan is temporarily reinstated while a court considers a White House appeal 1 day after a federal court blocked the US trade levies. White House advisor Peter Navarro says the Trump administration is ready to take its appeal to the Supreme Court, adding, "Even if we lose, we will do it another way." The latest turn in Trump's tariff drama saw a federal appeals court reinstate his tariff plan after the Court of International Trade ruled that the US president did not have the authority to slap nearly every country with tariffs. On Wednesday, a US federal court ruled against President Donald Trump's sweeping global trade tariffs. The US Court of International Trade had ruled that Trump overstepped his authority by using a 1977 federal economic emergency law to impose sweeping tariffs on nearly every country. It gave the White House 10 days to complete the bureaucratic process of halting the tariffs, although some are currently suspended anyway. Now, in the latest twist in the tariff saga, a federal court has reinstated Trump's tariff plan as an appeal lodged by the White House makes its way through the courts. This means for the time being the tariffs remain in effect and will not be blocked after 10 days as ordered by the Court of International Trade. The court directed the original plaintiffs, a group of small business importers, and separately a number of US attorneys general to file their response to the US government's appeal by the 5th June. The Trump administration is also ordered to submit its reply no later than the 9th June. And that's a wrap of your news for tonight. I'm Jadabdin.
And I'm Mariam Ganavijaya. One last time for Newsfirst. Good night.